Hi everyone, and welcome to this installment of the SAM Charter Software Asset Management Process of the Month. My name is Janet Coetzee, and my good friend Laurie Canavan has asked me to walk you through this month's installment, which centers on the software request process. Before we kick off, let's run through the agenda quickly. First, I'm going to be discussing the primary and secondary objectives of the software request process. Then I will give you a process run-through by means of a diagram. I'll be discussing the potential banana skins, which are basically the potholes that can trap up an organization when embarking on this process. You'll join me in tipping our hats at the sponsors who have made this series possible. And finally, I'll discuss next month's process in very broad strokes. Let's go. The primary objective of the software request process is to manage the request of software as quickly and efficiently as possible while still respecting the company's license position. Let me explain. Software asset management can very quickly become overly complicated and inefficient if an organization's primary objective is, for example, to ensure license compliance is maintained above all else. However, on the flip side of that, oversimplifying the software request process for the sake of expediting requests at all costs can just as quickly lead an organization down the path of license non-compliance if the necessary due diligence steps aren't taken. The secondary objective of the software request process is to use the license pool prior to sanctioning the purchases of new licenses. Before we proceed with this diagram, I need to clarify that this process is mainly aimed at companies who perhaps have not yet automated their software request, license allocation and deployment process, or organizations who have just embarked on the software asset management journey and who require a robust yet simple enough process to address software requests. If you want to have a look on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see that every software request is triggered by a need for software, naturally. Whether it be the change management process that calls for new software, or a periodic license reconciliation process that has indicated some license shortages, or a straightforward end-user request. I'm going to walk you through the software request process today by way of a story that starts with an end-user software request. This has no bearing on actual events, so no names needed to be changed for this. Right. Meet new architect. He's new at the organization and he requires some new software. New architect logs a request for the following titles: Visio, Snagit, Qt FTP, and something called Biz Design. The request goes to the service desk or help desk, however you wish to refer to them. They initiate the request like good soldiers, and they direct the request to new architect's line manager for verification. Line manager looks at this and thinks that the whole team uses Visio, but that they don't use Biz Design. However, it sounds intriguing, so probably something that an architect would need. And those two are a go. Line manager figures that he does not know what Qt FTP is, but that it might be good to try, and he gives that the thumbs up too. Snagit is a no-go, because no one in the team uses or needs it, so new architect can probably go without it. Service desk reports back to new architect on why the request for Snagit is declined, because that's just good, transparent business practice, and frankly, that's just plain courtesy. Now, from line manager, it travels back to the service desk, who compares the 3 approved titles to the supported software catalog to see what warrants an instant approve or decline. And note that requests can be declined for a myriad of other reasons as well. For example, procurement could throw a spanner in the works and decline the request based on a recent acquisition of an enterprise license, or a recent successful software as a service negotiation. That could mean that some locally installed applications are going to be replaced by cloud-based apps. If you tuned in last month, you will know that the supported software catalog is basically a software register that classifies software titles as green, amber, or red, and it is used extensively by a service desk, and it's able to expedite the software request process in a big way. Green means that it's an accepted title and that it's supported and that it may be requested and installed. No problems. Amber means that although it's supported, there is another organization-wide preferred title available in its stead. Red means that the title has either been retired or that it is due for retirement, so that's usually a default decline. Of course, the software catalog is fluid, so titles should get added and removed to it through the software rationalization process, which, incidentally, was discussed a few months ago. But let's get back to New Architect's story, shall we? In New Architect's organization, Visio is a green title. No problems there, and Service Desk approves it. It turns out that Qt FTP is an amber title, and Service Desk happens to know that there's a preferred application to this one. BizDesign, on the other hand, is not on the catalog at all. So at this point, Service Desk reports back to New Architect, recommending the alternative to Qt FTP, telling him that BizDesign needs to be tested first, but confirming that Visio is good to go. Now, right about here at the same time is also where a license validation check will be done. Hopefully, the organization has an automated means by which the Service Desk can check license availability, or a mightily impressive Excel spreadsheet updated around the clock by the software asset manager, which is not recommended. For the record, take it from a SAM professional. The license validation check is a crucial make or break point, because assigning the wrong license or the wrong version, or not assigning anything at all, or assuming that we are probably okay with licenses, so let's go ahead with the installation, could be the death of a SAM program. Assumption is a SAM program's biggest enemy, because it should deal with facts. This is what we own, this is what we have installed, and that's what we have left. You'll note that I've been referencing communication quite a bit, because any process needs to have a solid communication strategy to keep requesters and stakeholders informed. It's a non-negotiable, really, and this could make an unintentionally drawn-out process a lot more palatable if the requesters know how the process is tracking and where the delays are, for example. But I digress. Let's assume New Architect's organization is fresh out of Visio licenses. Then the Service Desk would redirect the request for Visio to the software procurement process. So what happens to the BizDesign request? That gets redirected to the software testing process over there. Why is that, you ask? Well, we want to see if it's fit for the environment, if it's compatible with our architecture and our other business applications, and even if it is able to be supported, all of those things. Now, you remember the replacement title that Service Desk suggested to New Architect instead of Qt FTP? Turns out that the replacement title is a green title on the supported software catalog, and the organization has licenses for it. So that moves to the software change management process for installation. Now, New Architect is not entirely happy about the fact that Snagit was declined way back at the start of the process, but he remembers that he has Snagit on his personal laptop at home. So a resourceful architect figures that he's just going to bring his own laptop to work instead, and he's going to use Snagit on that. Here is where Service Desk will reroute him to the BYOD process, which happens to be the next process up for discussion next month. So let's recap quickly. This starts with a request. It moves to validation by the line manager, Service Desk, procurement. And then it goes to validation against the supported software catalog. and the license entitlement position, and then it gets directed to the procurement process or the software change management process or the software testing process, or it goes to the BYOD process. And then the request is closed. And that, folks, is where we part ways with New Architect. Now let me step you through a few gotchas. Those are the potential banana skins that could trip a company up when they implement this process. Bottlenecking or lack of automation. This could happen due to a variety of reasons, such as the lack of a clear process, the lack of resources to deal with the influx of requests, putting the onus on a single team or a person to assess all requests, or it could quite simply be the reliance on manual effort to constantly have to reconcile requests with license availability, or even the absence of an ITSM toolset to capture requests properly and feed it to the proper resolver groups automatically after each action. Not validating against the supported software catalog or the complete absence of a catalog. This can slow a process down to a near halt due to assumption or scrambling to find license entitlement details or trying to determine what will or won't work in the environment. Do not underestimate the value of a supported software catalog. Not having an approved channel for requests. Like lack of automation or absence of a catalog, this could result in requests being sent from pillar to post, causing some major delays and unhappiness, and possibly eventually leading to software just being installed without ensuring that all I's are dotted and T's crossed. Let's take a moment to thank our sponsors who have made this Process of the Month series possible. Like I said before, the next podcast will center on the BYOD process, and BYOD is an acronym for Bring Your Own Device. Very briefly, this is where employees want to bring their own electronic devices to work, but there is a process to be followed to ensure that it's safe to introduce these onto a corporate network. And if you want to know what that process looks like, you'll need to tune in next month for this one. Now, folks, if you have any questions about this process or about any other software as management processes, or if you want expert advice or guidance on the successful implementation of a SAM program, or you want to take your existing program to the next level, take note of the contact details on the screen and give Mr. Rory Canavan a holler. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that I'll see you next month.